our session, which is the
About our
MVP host,
Well,
us,
let me,
Ralph and
yeah.
Craig. But more Ralph because I had something come up and I can't stay for very long.
All right. Yes. Let me get things started over here then. Okay. First, Raquel, go ahead and change it from preview to the show starting.
Already done?
Already done?
Show is starting
Okay.
as in like the main screen, right?
Well, not just the main screen. Go into like the actual feed now.
Oh, okay.
We're
Yeah,
live.
we're there.
Okay. All right. Okay. So
And
let's
Ralph,
see.
I accidentally stole sharing, so I am sharing, and then
Oh, you're sharing. Okay.
yes. So you'll have to be prepared to reshare, or I can stop sharing right now and you can reshare.
Oh, okay. So if you're in sharing mode, you can go ahead and start talking, chatting it up while we catch up here.
I did. I shared. So the agenda is to welcome about our session will be MVP hosts Ralph and Craig help you get your AI challenge badge. So Ralph is going to be presenting that mostly. It was going to be me and Ralph, but we get to the next slide and then we'll have questions and stuff. But if we get to the next slide, Craig has joined EXL, which is
I see something different there. What happened? Whoa.
What? Sorry.
I'm
sorry, Ralph.
That didn't take long.
What?
The people will be like, "Hey, what's it like working with Ralph?" Oh, I don't know.
So for those of you, if Fernando and Adam, if you haven't here, I joined Sogeti a few months ago, but then EXL reached out to me in desperate need of a power platform architect-ish type person to lead their power platform practice. So they offered me a vice president position.
They gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I jumped Ralph and I went to my new organization, is EXL. So I think actually Capgemini might be a competitor, but we're more in the Cognizant, I think, is more the competitor for us. But
are you more infrastructure sort of thing? Is that what it is?
No, it's more, well, actually, we want to be more data and AI type stuff, but I guess this is kind of how Sogeti works. Do a lot of offshore
data,
work.
No, data.
And
hang on a second.
Yeah, so what it used to be is more of a, what do you call it? Like services, right? So we're heavy India-based company. Our corporate headquarters is in New York. We have offices around the United States, but staff aug that's where I was going with more what we were doing. Kind of like Cognizant had a big staff augmentation type thing, but in recent years, they are more providing solutions, and the area that we're looking to get big into is, I mean, they've already got some good traction, is into AI and data analysis and all that kind of stuff. So, and as part of that, we have customers that want to use the Power Platform and create apps and do some automation, and then take and automate processes and then extrapolate that and be able to do reports and all that kind of good stuff. And have users be able to take the manual processes and convert those to like forms and things like that. So where the Power Platform sits in, but they've had a few developers, but not a whole lot. And they have a few, it's like, so they're all freshers, right? So they don't have they don't have a lot of experienced architects, and then they don't have anybody overseeing the practice as a whole. So and who could be here to talk to the customers in the United States. So that's where I get involved.
That's a huge job, it sounds like.
Yeah, but it sounds almost exactly what you're doing now.
Sort of, yeah. At a different, definitely at a different scale, and of course, at a different level on the partnership for sure.
Yeah, so you'll get there. You'll be next. I assume you'll be there. Because from what I could tell when I was talking to people, they think that you're already doing all that stuff that I am trying to do. So.
And so yeah, so that's actually good. I'm going to take notes, as they say. So when I do my review, it's like, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to to people, they were talking about how when we were when Jetty was partner of the year in Power Platforms, they basically said that was because of you. So
Ah,
they
well,
thought you were the partner of the year award. That's what Jetty was. So that's what I would bring up. But
I
Ralph,
know.
we can talk about you now.
Well, that's good. That's good to say. That's good to say. To be sure, that was definitely a worldwide effort. I know how that award works, and definitely, if it was just me, we would have gotten it again. Probably would have been easy, but no, there was way more to it. Let's just say that the folks that didn't get it were a little they were a little miffed that they didn't. So let's just say for 23 at least, it's not us anymore, but we did get it at the regional levels, at certain countries. So one way or the other, we're still up there in their good graces. Speaking of good graces, we have a little bit of the who's here. We only have two people here actually that we can talk about. Just we can say hello just to see what sort of folks come live and say hi, and then we'll go ahead and start going to the next bit.
Well, hi, this is Fernando. I am in Mexico, in Puebla, and
Fernando.
Sorry?
Hola, Fernando. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been
Hola.
here before.
Yes.
I remember Mexico.
And then I work mostly with Power BI.
Mm-hmm.
Not learning Fabric yet, but trying to learn all the other stuff, the basics. Right now, I'm trying to learn Tabular Editor.
Very good. Excellent. So we're going to get there. In fact, there's a bit of Fabric coming up in our little conversation over here. And who else do we got online here? We have Adam.
Adam, yeah. I've been working with SharePoint and Power Platform for about 5 years now, and they're like, even with 5 years experience, there's still plenty to learn. And with AI, yeah, right. With AI now, there's more opportunities, right?
Exactly. Basically, it's turning us all on our ear right now. And it's like, all hail our robot masters. We're all set. Well, you have AL, and so you're so close to AI because you already have AL in your initials. So you're almost there. So that's good. So those are our two guests. We have just on the side, we'll point out to Miss Raquel, my daughter, who's taking care of the live streaming for us and who's making sure that this is available almost immediately as soon as it's done. All righty, let's go ahead. Why don't you hit the next slide there, Mr. Craig? Are we still there? Let's see.
Change it.
Here we go. Just a reminder for folks, especially if you're coming in from us online and you do see you're there on the YouTube side, here's where you actually go. Eventually, at some point, maybe this is going to be the one-stop shop for all to go to. But technically speaking, Microsoft would like you to come to our location on the community site, the Power Users area. And it's where you can discover other user groups and everything else. There's a QR code to quickly get over there. But otherwise, that link will also get you there at the same time. And that's pretty much our identity as far as where it's going on. If you're on YouTube, then you know, and you discovered it by accident. By the way, it's at CMPPUG. So youtube.com/@CMPPUG is the fastest way to get to our stream. And then otherwise, we're still on Meetup. We're going to be there for a while for dealing with the meetings and everything else. So try to find our way over there. I do believe there's links in that main site to find our Meetup site as well. Okie doke. Next slide. And it's going slow. Okay, so a few notes before we start. In fact, let's just go ahead and start a little bit because the notes are actually the next slides as we get through. Next slide. Going slow.
Sorry.
Really quickly. So we're going in real quick. You added this slide over here. We're talking about Fabric and bringing data. Did you want to cover this one?
Yeah. So this was actually left in from last week. It's months, not last month's April.
Right.
When did we meet? May. So May's meeting, we skipped April, May. Yeah, we did May. We skipped June, and then July got pushed.
Yes.
But I would normally have pulled this out and the next one out, but it was a cool announcement Microsoft's going all in on AI, and I thought that this, since our conversation is going about AI, that we should keep this in just to remind people, hey, you want to go check out data analytics and Microsoft Factory, because that's really kind of cool stuff that they're doing, and it's ways to ingest your data, right, and get it prepared, and then do all this fancy stuff, right? So, and Fabric is what they're looking for, is the underlying platform for going to be data and data analysis. So just kind of that reminder for anybody who missed last week. Yeah, so that's why I just kind of left it in there, just because I thought it was awesome. It's still, kind of remind people that that's there, and they want to be doing data analysis in the era of AI. That, to reminder, Fabric's going to be the way moving forward, and you would want
Fabric
to
is
get on
big.
that.
It's very big.
Yes, get on that sooner rather than later.
You might have that might be one of our actual topics actually coming soon. But for the meantime, the AI like world tour continues. Can you keep me busy for just a few minutes? Someone's at my door, and I'm still working from home, so hang on a second.
Alrighty. So that brings us to what the actual topic is going to be. Is the AI challenge. So I believe that Microsoft has a challenge that you can go out and you can start doing, you can start learning, and as you finish all of their training, then you will get a badge. And then with the bonus Ask Me Anything question, Ralph always has his, where he tries to answer any question that comes in around what we've been talking about. Also, Ralph is our resident expert in, actually kind of the national expert in Power Platform licensing, and he will answer to the best that he can any of your licensing questions. And there's been quite a few, actually. It's one of the big things around AI and Copilot, and those kind of things that are going to be in the Power Platform, is how licensing is going to work with that. Because it looks to be, how, for Copilot at least, like a $30 per charge per user on top of your M365 licensing. I think that's what it was. I imagine that they'll have discounted rates and trials and stuff like that, but it does seem like it's going to be a hefty price to pay for going and implementing some of this AI stuff in your environments if you want to do that. And then that kind of gets into haves and the haves nots, right? So if AI is going to be this game changing technology that everybody is touting it, but only certain organizations can actually afford to do that, then that's just going to kind of, I mean, it's the way capitalism works, but that's going to really drive where you're going to see the data. Like the companies that can afford it are just going to get more efficient and better. And the companies that can't quite afford it are going to stagger behind unless they can figure something out. So that could actually be a conversation in it of itself.
Indeed. We can discuss it at the end of this particular show over here, as you start looking at all the bits that I'll start describing.
Yes.
Okay.
And Fernando put in a nice cat answering a door.
That's it. I could, if I had the AI cat to answer the door, that would be great. Wouldn't it be wonderful here? I'm gonna take over the screen and do some sharing of the screen.
Oh, Ralph, are we recording? We are recording, or is that what Raquel does?
Where she's recording from her end, it's automatically recorded when it goes into YouTube. But if you want to record from this end, starting now is a good time. And go ahead and hit the recording from here.
Can you record from now, or you got your screen taken?
Oh well, let me do it then.
Because I am going to be dropping off as soon as you.
I'm hitting. I just did it, and the transcript is starting now. And essentially, we're taking on our internal recording. We're taking it from the moment of the actual content that we're actually here to talk about. So let me go and share my screen. Second, take two. All right. And let me know when folks can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Are we good?
I see a quick word from our sponsors.
Yes. So a quick word from our sponsors. That's still me for now. I guess because you put the Sageti logo in the beginning. I guess actually, technically speaking, it's going to be a two-part. I wanted to show something over here that I wanted to share with you. So instead of doing the normal marketing stuff, the idea is when I look at this particular thing that we came out with recently, it turns out that this is more than just like something that we're trying to sell or anything like that. The whole idea of what AI is about, what generative AI is doing, the whole value piece. And remember, we were talking about earlier, it's like, well, will companies pay? You know, who's going to pay? Who's going to be left behind and everything else? Well, they got to understand that there is movement here. And where is that movement coming from? We have all these anecdotes, people saying this and that. Maybe there's some news reports here and there. There was actually a research study that was done on the Capgemini side. Turns out that on the Capgemini Sageti side, they've been at the AI game for quite a while. So Microsoft is a bit, let's just say, taken with us the fact that we were on level with them with a lot of areas. But this is an interesting report, by the way, and it does work. The link works if we share the slides. This link will work. And in fact, I'm going to go there right now. Come on, let's open the link. Open the link, please. Here we go, slowly but surely. And here's the link. It opens up this over here. Let's allow the cookies for now. And it's a nice, a beautiful PDF. You can download the infographic for all the pieces. Let's show you what the infographic looks like. All right, and it's something you can share if you're trying to, as they say, make the case for AI and for learning AI and for doing things in AI for your business or for your organization. This will probably be of use to you. All right, you can get the report and get everything else, and you can find, and you can basically say, look, this is what organizations are doing. This is where people are going. This is what people are thinking. When they say there's a bandwagon, this is what it actually looks like. So 1 second, please. Someone there at the door once again. 1 moment, please. And now you can probably all hear the doorbell ringing. 1 moment, please. This time they actually hit the doorbell. All right, let's continue on. So that's just a little word from our sponsors in that particular case. So let's move on to that next piece.
Before you move on, I'm just going to let you know. So I'm going to drop off now. I wanted to hear your words from your sponsors. So
yes, okay. Let's
I will record your meeting. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The meeting is still going on, and let me go find a PowerPoint so I can myself move on to the next slide over here and go through the agenda.
And if you want to whiz our people, three of them now. Mark joined, so we didn't even acknowledge Mark joining. Mark, welcome to the club.
Mark,
but if they have a topic they want to see for next, for the end of the month, because we'll do August. See how that goes over. Unless you want to come up with something yourself.
All right.
But let's try to get that out earlier. In 2 weeks, we want to get it out this week.
All right, it's true.
Thank you.
We'll see how that works out. Okay, and I'm off on my own. No parachute, just myself. Let's see what's going on.
You got Raquel. Okay. She will support you. She'll play my role.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So we got the AI challenge over here is what we're talking about. That's the main gist of this over here. And yes, with the AI challenge, and it's still good until around August, and we'll look at that detail in a little bit. You get a badge. All right, that badge is actually something that you can associate on your LinkedIn and do all kinds of cool things with it. Just saying, it might actually be of worth to you. All right, so we'll look at that in detail. We're going to have an overview of essentially the Power Platform edition of the challenge, because the challenge obviously is not just AI Power Platform, it's AI across the board, and it pretty much focuses on AI Modeler and PVA. That's Power Virtual Agents. We'll review the main issues between the Learn lessons, and the main reason for having this really is the fact that, well, it's using Learn. People who have taken the skills challenge before, you'll find yourself going to Learn and following the lesson plans over there and then following the steps. The biggest thing about this is like there are issues on those steps. and I'm going to cover those. And the issue is actually, let's just say they're in the high range of the cheese has been moved in significant ways that make more than half of it potentially, if you're trying to follow it and you just stop dead without even trying to go any further, not useful. So that's what a lot of this is all about. I'm going to get you past that, and then give you tips and tricks to get through the badge anyway. Regardless of how messed up that might seem that it is, there is still a way to make the most of it and get through and still pass the challenge, because, well, you see the badge there. I was able to get it, and not because I knew somebody and talked to them and got it on the side. I actually was able to get through it, and I'll give you those tips. All right. And then we'll go beyond the AI challenge a little bit, practical use of the tech, because there's one thing about doing the book learning, as they call it. You follow the steps and you get through a few of these pieces. When you go through it, you will eventually have practical use of the tech, and that's what this is going to be about here. Then, of course, our AMA, which is not the American Medical Society, no, but it's the Ask Me Anything area, and yes, even licensing questions, because with AI stuff, there'll probably be a couple of those. I'm ready to actually answer those because I'm crazy enough to look at that. All right. So, and then now we're going to dive in headfirst with the parasail wherever possible. In fact, before we dive in, let's go ahead and let's get this link right over here. Let's call it up and show you the skills challenge. When you come to the skills challenge, you'll get over here and you'll see there's different choices over here. Machine learning. These are the Azure side. Machine learning, cognitive services, and MLOps and everything else. You're learning like coding with Python. You're learning Azure configuration and those kind of pieces. The one that you're looking for over here is the AI Builder Challenge. All right, so a quick overview of the challenge. It says you can join the challenge where it goes. How it works is you're going to go through Learn. All right, and when you get through and you pass the test and everything else, you get to see what happens. All right, so I have to actually join the challenge from this area to actually see it. So I actually did that already at one point. So let me go ahead and get a copy of this over here. Let's get the challenge again. Let's go back to the Learn page, and I'm going to open it up where I already finished it. So I'll give you a good idea on what it is actually about. So stand by. Right. So in this particular case, I've already passed the challenge. So let me go ahead and go to the challenge and see my complete. This is what it is. So overview. There are 18 modules on it. It takes so much time to get it done. So maybe the question is, well, how much time, Ralph, does it take to get it done? Because we only have 11 days, 16 hours, 55 minutes, and 55 seconds to get it done. Will there be enough time, Sir Ralph, to get it done? Well, when you go in there and you actually start it, you will see these modules show up. All right. And each one tells you how many minutes it takes to run these modules. All right. So rule of thumb is whatever it says over here, if you double it, you at least got yourself covered. I'm going to give you another rule of thumb. Whatever you see over here, triple it. All right. And whatever that is, and the reason why I say that is because some of these areas might make you look at it a little bit deeper, or you might say, how do I translate what's happening here with what the interface actually looks like? Might actually take you longer than you want to feel. And also you want to give and take into account the fact that some things you want to repeat and try again or go over and stuff. You really want to learn it. It's unless, of course, you just want the badge and you just want to get through it. You can just click on yes and try to answer the questions when they start asking you questions at the end and hope you pass them. Because if you miss all of them, they let you pass even though you miss a few of those questions. But I think they don't let you pass if you miss all of them. Makes you have to at least do the test again. And of course, you can use AI to answer the questions, and then you'll be done in no time going through all of this. Then yeah, sure, get your badge. But is it real? I think it's real when you actually go through them. I think this is the most important thing that you have to see how that works. So, and essentially you go on to a module and they look like this. If anyone has used this before, as you start completing them, you will get essentially experience points and they add up to your total experience. It's like gamification, right? I'm at level 7 already. I have this much experience. There are people with way, way higher levels and way more points than even myself, at least because I'm using this particular sign-in for it. And it tells you, even at the lower level, what exactly, what exact time is going to take for each of the pieces, right? So in a lot of the beginning parts, they're pretty easy because they're just saying, here's AI, here's what it's all about. There'll be videos, there'll be talks and everything else, and then you just answer the questions. Those are the easy ones to do. The let's just say the more complex ones are the ones where you're actually having to do a build of something. For example, here's one good example: the analyze sentiment text with AI Builder. So here's something where you're using the AI Builder, the modeler, to actually do something. And oh, by the way, if you're wondering, don't I need a license to work with this? See how it says you need a Power Apps or Automate license, Access Dataverse, AI Builder add-on or trial. Developer environment, and we'll show you that in a limit. If you have a developer environment, you can do any of this. What you just can't do is publish it or use it outside of your developer environment. So don't worry about your license. Don't worry about your access to skills. If you don't know how to get a developer environment, we'll remind you how that works. Actually, I will in a little bit. But most importantly, that's all you need, really. If you really, really are desperate and your company won't let you have a developer environment, or you can't seem to get one, you can always use and make a new email account and ask for a dev environment, a dev tenant. You might have remembered I gave you a little idea on that before, and we'll probably remind folks on a link on how to do that, where you can set up your own M365 tenant with E5 access from scratch, and then turn on all the trials, and then you'll get that environment. You don't even have to turn on trials. Even there, you'll be able to set up a developer environment, and I'll show you how also. All right, so something like this where it says build X or build Y. Here's some of the bigger issues that come on. So they'll give you instructions and they'll say, okay, here's what you got to do. Here's what we're trying to do. And you will almost notice right away, if you're using Power Platform right this minute and you're fresh with it, you will see that even the colors of the banners and everything else are not quite the same. And here's the main issue. Even sometimes some of these pieces that they ask you to use and send are not there. They're not named the same thing. They're not in the same pictures at all. So how do you find them? How do you look for them? And I'm going to show you those tips and tricks in a little bit later on. But I just wanted to show you what it is, an overview of the challenge and why it is that we're going through this kind of information. All right, so let's put that aside over here and put this aside over here. And then we'll take a look now and get through some of the challenge pieces over here. All right, so one of the things with the challenge, when they ask you to do things, and over here I've done the challenge, I had a dev tenant that I was able to play all my pieces in. So the first thing that I needed to do was have a dev environment for it, right? How do you get a dev environment? Let's a reminder. You go into your settings, you go to your admin center. You simply go into your environments, and hopefully you have enough power. Again, if you have the power to do this, you would ask someone to do this. And by the way, every person with a seat is allowed to have up to 3 of these. You simply create a dev environment by going new, choose the name of something. Let's call it user group. Let's see if I'm allowed to make more than one. And then I say developer environment and the environment's purpose of learning. All right. It'll automatically add Dataverse. It'll give you everything you need. You see those things are not being able to be set. Firstly, let's go ahead and see if this operation is subject to capacity constraints. It just basically tells you. And by the way, usually when you're setting a development environment, you want to set up sample apps and data. The capacity constraints is if you're in an environment where there's really lots and lots going on, they'll tell you that you may not be able to. You see this over here? You have reached the limit of 3 environments for a user. So I could go in as a different user and go ahead and make a new one over here, but that's the idea, right? You'll get a development environment. And I have a few of them that I set over here. We have our new Hire Academy that I set this up for recently. And I'm just going into that environment over here. I just set it up, and you can see it has pretty much everything that you would have, right? Power Pages, Power Apps and Flows, everything that you need. There's Dataverse in there, and it's ready to go. That's where you need to work. All right. And then, of course, you got to make sure to change to one of those environments. All right. Let's take a look, see if we can find some of the pieces that are a bit different than everything else. So on the pieces, the most common thing is when you go into the AI models. One of the first things that happens when we're making a model, in the instructions, it's called AI models over here. It's called AI Builder still in their documentation. It's like 50% of the documentation says go to AI models and create new from there, and then you'll have some choices. Guess what? It doesn't exist. You got to go to AI models, click on new AI model, and then start from here. And then this also, when you see the pictures, are also different. The first one it tells you is for your document processing. It says, oh, you're going to make an invoice. They even give you some downloads that you can get from the site to make this work. Well, okay, I can do that. I can start searching for stuff potentially. I can look for structured data. Maybe I want to do documents, right? So I'm doing documents over here. I'm going to extract information from a custom information from documents. That's what they make you do. They're basically trying to give you some invoices, really, to try to figure out, and they're going to do that. But here, it's already ready to go. They have all that lessons for you, and it's quite complex, in fact, the way it runs through. And it turns out there's exactly the invoice thing to do. So I can use a pre-built model or a custom model, whichever I want to do. The whole point is all that whole entire exercise, much easier for you to call this one up and then look to see what it relates to for what you're building. So you would know how maybe you want to do this for POs, for example, what it would look like. If you want to learn it, you can do it the hard way and create the stuff from scratch. But technically speaking, the invoice maker is already done, right? So I can actually go into this and use this model straight up. In fact, let's go ahead and I can use a pre-built model over here in a flow or an app, or I can create, in this case, I'll be creating a custom. Custom means I'm just going to make it blank. Just to give you an idea how this stuff is working. And by the way, again, this is working fine because I'm in my dev environment. If you were in a production or another area, it's going to demand that you have the license. So a lot of the things that it does look similar to what their instructions are, but in a lot of these cases, we simply, and where in theirs where you would be adding all these fields that they ask you to do, I warn you now, if you attempt to do that, you'll create duplicates. You actually mess yourself up because then it's going to ask, hey, you created required fields and they're not being populated now. Not a good idea. So the key over here is to learn this, not so much the fields that you're going to extract and everything else. That should be left to the actual work when you get it done. The key is learning about this, getting a collection, learning that you need a collection to add documents, and then finding your sources and how to get it from SharePoint, from Blobby or wherever, from a feedback loop, or in this particular case, I'm going to go up to my downloads area and go to my AI Builder lab. Let's see, AI Builder. Let's go see it up here. Is it AI Builder lab? I think so. Here we go, lab data. And oh no, this is not the one. One moment. It's not the AI Builder lab. There's several folders that are on here as well. AI Builder document sample processing. This is the one, right? So here's my invoices, right? I pick one of these that I feel like learning from. Let's try a datum because you saw a datum on there. And there's train, and then literally Control A to select all. By the way, a lot of what I'm showing you over here, that's not exactly how they told you to do it. They asked you to drag and drop or select one at a time. Like, did you see me just do Control A and select and bring it in? It's actually a cool demo. You upload the 5 documents and give it a moment. And done. All right, let's add another collection. You can give things name, and we'll call this a datum. This is the other thing, which is what really could take you time. In some cases, they don't even tell you to do things that are nice, like give something real names. They just make you go through it. And this is what will give you extra time. It's a good idea to practice and notice where things are updated and you want to work with. So I'm going to add a new collection over here, one more, because otherwise, what's the point of it if it's only going to be doing one set of collections over here? And let's go up to Contoso because, well, Contoso, of course. Let's get some Contoso docs, open them. You can go out and get any kinds of invoices and do your own stuff here as well to see how it works out. But the idea is use the samples wherever possible, just so you get that. I'm going to call this Contoso. All right, next. And we go next. Come on, let's go. Next step is what do they have to do? Review. Now, in the review, in their version, This is where you set up all those pieces over here. You got to go in one at a time and create the text fields, find them and all. And here's the thing about the new, and this is coming out of preview, the new version of the invoice processor. It does that all for you. This is like automatic. You'll compare it against the fact that they had to go look at it. What they want you really to do over here is visit all the training docs. What are we learning over here? We learn that we need at least 5 docs to train. Is that a good thing or bad? It may be good, because that's all you need to get going. But as they say, the more the better. The better trained something will be. If something is pretty much as equal as this, 5 should be the limit. All right, so I went through my next. Let me go back. And let's go ahead and do Contoso now. Contosos are different. And let's take a look. This is almost the highlight of the training. You're gonna go through these and just step by step and follow the step. And where things are not exactly the same, what do? You see this over here, billing address and all that stuff. It captures a lot of information, more than the information that they're asking for over there. But the idea is like to select it so you can find out where things are, play around maybe. But for now, follow the directions straight up, and then you can come back and play like I'm doing over here. All right, so I see that's all there. Now I'm ready to train. The model is training. All right, so obviously I've probably trained this information before. And this one's called document processing right now. Let's go see if we can find one that's already been trained. So here's the document processing one that was done before for invoices, right? You get over here, you have a chance to use the model, instantly make a Power Automate thing, instantly make a Power Apps thing. And by the way, even those will not look the same as the demo. But when you follow through them, it's actually easier. They're straightforward. Even if they don't follow the exact steps, you will actually see what you have to do next as you go through them. Let me do the quick test over here so you see how that works. So upload from my device. Over here, let's go ahead and pick not from the train, but from the test area for Contoso. And it's analyzing. And let's see how fast that works. And boom, now it's going to show you that, look, it recognized all this stuff. Look at that, confident, and gives you confidence scores and all that information. I mean, this demo, if you show this to folks that are doing invoice processing somewhere and they're doing it by hand, if you just show this demo as a test, this thing that's in Learn, you might actually get some business here and get some work, because this is hours and hours and hours of manual entry into a system. Because once you have this information, what's left to do? Let's make, for example, a Power Automate that you can do where you're entering all of that into a Dataverse, into a table, or into a SAP, or into some other system over here. Or let's look at Power Apps over here. Let's go ahead. I want to use my model. I go like this, and I can say, let's build an intelligent app. Let's build an automation, or let's use the document in an automation solution. All right, so actually really cool. Let's go ahead and build an intelligent app, see what happens. Let's see what it does these days, because in their part, there was a lot of manual steps that you still had to do. And so as they say, your mileage will vary depending on how up to date your tenant happens to be. For the most part, we are now past all that stuff that was preview. A lot of these things are now in place, and we're going to look at that in a moment. And look, there it is. There's the form processor. There's the piece ready to go. You know what? You see that ready to go? Okay, here's. I'm just going to start this. All right, and I'm going to just go ahead and analyze, and it's going to bring up a document. Let's bring up the Contoso one again, just so we see what it does. All right, so you see all the pieces over here, right? So you can see there's the analysis performed and detected these fields. So what would I like to get from this? So I'm just doing this like really fast, just because I have a little bit of muscle memory over here. I'm just going to add a quick text label and put that over here. And I'm just going to set that text label to, what's my name of my control over here? By the way, give your things names, form processor 1. So let's get the text from form processor 1. dot. All right, let's see what it has over here. Results. Could it be results? What do you think? Just try to take a guess. Would I be fields? Results? Let me try results. Dot. Okay, here we go. Let's go get the invoice number. Oh, maybe not. Dot. Well, hold on a second. Dot. We got to get the value. All right. Hey, it's helping me as I'm going along, right? So let's go ahead and hit play on this. Did I say that right? Okay. So let's go ahead and bring up the information. Not Contoso this time. Let's go ahead. Oh, let's bring up one of these, the train ones. And it should have come true. And it didn't come true. What did we do wrong? So we saw over here our text box, it had the form processor results, and got the value, but it didn't go in right away, mainly because there's still a couple other steps that you have to do to get that through. I have the working example of this in another place, but this is the part where there'll be a button, or there'll be some aspects where you go in there on select, on hover, on change, where you make and update a text. It doesn't just automatically link, and sometimes it doesn't find it right away. And this is the part where sometimes you have to play. Maybe it's not invoice number. Maybe it's something else. Let's go look at that one, by the way, once again. Where did it make that that app? Did the app go away? Did I close it? I think I closed it right away, but it might be that you're not getting exactly the right field. That's why you have to learn how to play on those pieces. But that's the idea over here. So in this cases over here, let's see, which one is this one? This is a text recognizer. Here, oh, here's the invoice value. This is actually should work. Let's go results dot billing address dot value. Let's see if it comes up with something. Oh, so invoice number was wrong, but billing value was correct. All right. So did we need a button? Did I need to make any change? That just happened right away. So let's prove that that's true. All right. We're going to change it again. Let's go ahead and call up a datum. And that one didn't come out because it doesn't have that information. It's not there. All right. So this is part of the problem with some of these fields. It's like there'll be fields that they'll exist for something and they won't exist for something else. They don't go through these nuances when you're taking the challenge. But this is why I say add the extra time, because then you want to look at these and understand how that works. And you saw all I did with the other one was just try out a different field to see if I got it, which means I probably have to have code that says, if this doesn't exist, look at something else, look at this, look at something else, and make that work. All right. So those are some of the pitfalls that you would have when you're looking at it. Let's see some of the other ones that you would see. Let's see, on using the confidence scores. Let's go ahead and see some of the models that I've created over here. Object detection, which is actually a pretty interesting one. The object detection one was actually pretty painful because take a look. See, even the scoring over here, it looks unrealistically high when it talks about the model over here. Let me edit this model and show you some of the key differences on how this works. And so that first one, the document processing and things related to it, is about a quarter of the information. This one, the object recognition, and similar to text recognition and all the other pieces, is about another quarter. There's one of the things that requires teams to be set up in a certain way. I wouldn't worry about that too much, but this is the most common thing, right? Where you essentially get to choose objects, right? And you basically, like common objects, it says, or in a lot of cases, like objects in the store shelves. Oh, this is actually cool. I'll go through that in just a moment. This is actually using cognitive services. And you create your object names over here. And then you essentially bring in your images. And then you actually have to go through all your images and then make sure you highlight and tag. It's going to try to recognize stuff automatically wherever possible and try to guess. It's actually pretty cool. But for the most part, it doesn't do a good job. And you have to go in and do tags make them around even. You learn things like, hey, they only told you to do some of these and some of these. And then you find out when you run it that some of these don't come out well, that they actually, it turns out that depending on the resolution of the image, things could be a problem, but they don't tell you some of that stuff. But this is actually pretty cool. Once you get this working, then you, again, just like we saw with the other object model, bring it in. Right, so let's go ahead and see if I have that app for that particular thing working here somewhere. Here it is. I think I have this. This is the app that they made you correct. Let's see, select the box over here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and see where the image is getting it from. Is this one a datum one? Oh, yes. So this is the invoice processing one. Let me go ahead and open this one up again. I think it still remembers where I'm at. Oh, yes, right. So this one over here has this way of selecting it. Let me make this bigger so you can all see it. And then, of course, I can zoom in. It's just showing you how well it recognizes stuff and then showing you how to make a data table for the other information. All right, looking under the covers. How is it doing this? Getting the items from where. You can take a look, for example, the data table is pointed to the text recognizer results. All right. It's bringing in the image plus a new image. This is actually really simple. They don't go through all the naming the labels and all the pieces over here. So there we go. In this particular case, doing this selected text. Instead of, remember what we did earlier? We did like, we pointed specifically to a certain area to get that data specifically. In this case, they're showing a more cooler way, which is you select something and then what does it say? All right, but this over here, the fact that this table shows this means that you can take the data and squeeze it into an app or squeeze it into a table or squeeze it into whatever you want to do. All right, so that's just some of the a little bit of the nuances. They get a little bit scarier now when it comes to flows over here. Let me try to find one of these flows that we're looking at. Stand by. Let's go ahead and look at some flows. So that was looking at the apps. The differences are for some of the pieces, you may not find the exact control in the exact same way, but in flow it gets a little bit even hairier over here. We're going to take a look at some of these. So I have, for example, here's a flow with this recognizer flow for the AI test and the biz card reader that I had over here. Here's the sysadmin boss analysis. Basically, it like analyzes the text that's coming in. Here's another text predictor that's over here. Let's go ahead and look at this text predictor as an example. All right, see how we had failed over here and succeeded because it was, and I'll show you what the problem was. So watch for this one. Please remember when you see this one and you're taking the and you're going through the lessons. The first lesson is when it says to when a file is created over here in images, this was different. The way to look at files in OneDrive and everything else was not the same. I had to go and make this images directory and everything else, and I had to go to OneDrive. The instructions for doing that was not quite clear. It was like almost expecting that I had that ready to go, but where were the instructions for setting that up? Nowhere. So I had to figure out how to do this. Actually, it was straightforward. I looked over here and I said, oh, look, I can see what's in OneDrive. It's OneDrive for Business. So I said, well, I can't figure out how to do that from here. How about I go to OneDrive and add an images directory? That's all I did. Now I'm able to continue doing work. All right. And for content type, I just left everything alone. That wasn't in there. So this one, you see the predict language model. So in theirs, what they told you to do was going to say predict. Look what happens when I do predict. I get this AI builder piece over here. In theirs, they show Dataverse predict. Seriously, Dataverse predict. There is Dataverse predict. Does that still exist? It's gone. There's no such thing. In fact, even the Dataverse stuff that they tell you to do is different. They have a concept of neuro Is it new row? Is it create row? What if I want to do something in Dataverse? Even that's different, right? So watch out for those little things. But the good thing is that when you're looking for something, like when I hit the add action and you type in essentially the same words, you'll at least get closer to where you get and where you need to get to. The rule of thumb is you'll likely find it in AI Builder. There are some things you can't. There's a few new previews that are not called AI Builder. They probably should be, but at least if you select this, you will find what seems to be the thing that you're looking for. And there it is down. I said predict, right? Why was that guy a little bit harder to find? Because there's some other predicts that show up over here. But that's what it was. So I was able to figure that out. So once I got that figured out, then it said it had a bunch of other fields to fill in. And it turned out all I had to do was simply predict file content when a file is created. Okay, here's a folder, and I'm predicting the file content. And the next thing you need to do is, because I just need to deal with the results, this happens automatically. I just simply put in, I just did a results thing, and it created this apply to each for me, and then it created an additional one. And then even this one, add new row, it said create row. There's no create row. It's called add a new row. Things like that. So this is an example of where almost everything was different, but it turned out the end result was a much simpler system to create. All right, so even the add new row, what was it looking for? All right, it was looking for a table. That table had to be created first. That part was the same, creating the table to do things. Why was it the same? Because it basically create a table, give it a name, and you're not going to create any new fields. That's it. It goes straight into name anyway, and done. All right, so I wanted to show you that in particular. Let me go see if there's any others over here that are funky as well. This is admin one. This is a cool one. Basically, your boss sends you an email, and it's going to say if it was positive, negative, or mixed results. And in the exam for this one in particular, it says, hey, what are the options of results? The options are mixed, neutral, positive, negative. And it turns out every time you run this app, it never gives you a neutral. It says mixed. And then when you take the test, it says, no, it's neutral, not mixed. Mixed is not a result, but it is because I just saw it. So you're going to fail that answer because the truth is mixed is now an answer. If you want to pass the answer, then say, no, it's not mixed. It's whatever you say it is. All right. But that's an idea on how that works. Let me go edit with Designer over here. I'm going to run the test so you see what I mean. This is what's really cool, by the way. The tests help you figure things out. So other things like this, get profile on new email. Nothing over here is pretty much different. Check it as my manager. The HTML text is still in preview. And this is the part. It's analyze positive and negative sentiment in text. That was sort of the same and sort of not. All right, let's go into the test over here. Let's see if I have some of my old tests. Here we go. Let's look at this one over here. Save and test so you can see what I mean by a result. And by the way, this test over here are going to be your savior and how to figure out if something's wrong or if something works. It's the best thing to really learn how these happen, right? So, oh, let's see what happened over here. All right, it's saying it got my manager and everything else. I don't like where it went. All right, I got all that information from it. That's all fine and well. Where did it fail? It came in and it said, false, check if it's my manager. He's not my manager. He's not manager? What happened? Did I change it? Interesting. So this was, he's not my manager. It should be if no, nothing. The execution of HTML to skipped. The branching action was not satisfied. Oh, that's interesting. Let's go find out if that was one of my bad tests. So by the way, something could succeed. Let's look at what it looked like when it did work. Something can succeed, but not really succeed. So let's go over here to see one that actually worked. All right. And whoa, this is interesting. It's saying what I did before didn't succeed either? That, I know that's not right. Let's see if it does that this time. So you and I just discovered something new over here, which is, for some reason, it's expressing false on all the issues over here. And that is very, very interesting. I'm going to go look at my successful runs and see what's going on. It's not, it can't tell me that they all failed. Yeah, they are. Oh, I'm going to look, I have to go look at this to see what's going on. So this is something that just happened just now. There's my demo. The demo god's coming to haunt me. All right. Whatever succeeded truly did not. Because every time now I go and look at the value. Oh, here's one. Okay. This is better. Something is going on. Something's different. So that one expressed it true. Let's go see what it looked like. It's got HTML stuff on the message. There was the text that it found, and the sentiment analysis, and it gives probability of negative, probability of neutral, probability it's positive. All right, so the idea is over here. It's like one of these said, when I tried all the different combos, I got mixed. I did not get neutral. All right, so I'm glad this is working. At least we show what it looks like when it does work, and then send a push notification to the other person. So that's interesting. I got to go figure out what's going on over there. But anyways, that was another good one to go see. Let's look at the time. We're okay with time. Let's look at one of the other ones over here. This was the business card reader. I don't know if I went through that one. The business card reader was a little lame because I'm going to tell you about the business card reader. Here's part of the problem. It was, as we know, people make funky business cards. The business card reader, when you look at it as an example, and they don't give you, by the way, an example to upload like they did with Contoso invoices, you got to go get your own. You're going to find out that there's too much to set up in order for this thing to work properly. You need to somehow find their example and use their example as is, or you're going to find yourself shortcutting and doing some quickie things to make that work for the biz card reader. And then, of course, there's the fact that people make business cards in all kinds of crazy, strange ways. That didn't help either. So I had to go find one of those really ancient looking biz cards that are out there. I wonder if I still have one. Let's go see if I can get the test on this one. See if I can show you what I mean. Right? See, I get failed. Here's a succeed. Let's go see this. And let's go. This one adds a new row. I go see the download. There's the download of the item that was brought in. Let's go back. Here we go. All it's doing is it's grabbing from this one over here. The inputs. This is actually, so you know what you don't see is the image, but you see essentially the piece. The image was essentially one of these cards that I created. Then I created that I got from somebody. You know, back in the 80s when they used to make cards out of printer shops, that was the only one that actually worked. It actually gave me information. Some of these newer-fangled ones, I was having a hard time with doing it. But anyway, so that's that for BizCard Creator. So watch out for BizCard Creator. Next one to look at. The summarize emails. That actually was a pretty interesting one. I'm not sure if I finished that one. Let's go see if that one went through. Let's go to art. Yeah, this one here never succeeded. The summarize emails one. That one is one of those things that you try to make run, but it always failed on the prediction. This is because the summarize, the create text and everything else is not the same. Their control was not the same. It's asking for something over here to put in, but what it's saying that whatever I did, it wouldn't handle it, by the way. So this was a big one, right? Never really quite got this one to work. However, for the create text with ChatGPT, the summarize piece over here does exist now. I was able to find it. It does exist as a different piece. So let's go see if we can find that over here. Let's go to cancel. Let's go to edit. So let's go add an action. It's going to be an AI builder piece is the question. So it's going to be extract information, identity documents. The question is which one of these, because there are now a lot more. When you look at their examples, any one of these could have been the ones to use. What I never really had a chance to do in that particular case was find the exact. Sometimes you can't find the exact one. You got to play around. I think I did find it though on a different tenant. Not going to go through that right now, but we'll follow up on that one. If someone really gets stuck in that one, do send me a note, ping, a message, and I'll help you find it. But that one has a different result, to be sure. Wanted to show you that one, so that was another place where you could get caught up. You can answer questions on that one right away because that one's actually a quote-unquote simple lesson. There's only 2 or 3 steps, and then the questions and answers for this doesn't ask you what control to use. It just simply asks you what is it doing and why is it doing it. That's all. Nice and easy. Right? Let's see. Go back to my flows. Okay, so those are some tips on how, yes, okay, on how to go through a lot of the examples and tests over here, and the fact that a lot of these things don't quite match. You'll see front end interface. By the way, the Copilot for Flow is now working, so that actually changed a few things. The same thing with Power Apps as well. All right, where can you go with this stuff? Well, as it turns out, with ChatGPT, you could do things, especially when you turn on the features. Right, when you go into your settings and you go to upcoming features and make sure you turn on all the Copilot pieces. There we go, Copilot components or anything like that. Make sure you turn those on if you want to use it with Copilot components. You can use them straight up. They don't use the GPT AI model or anything else. You go straight through. The other way to do things, of course, is like the hard way. Essentially, if you want to use the GPT engine, you basically call it a flow, pass it to the GPT and make it come back. So here's an example of doing just that over here. Let's go through and look at what this flow is first. Let's look at find the flow. Here we go. That is the make an intro flow. Let's go and edit it. Take a look. So now we're going beyond a little bit. So remember that create text with GPT? That turns out to be a super powerful thing. There's a lot you can do. The concept over here is actually simpler than the learn stuff. You come in here and you essentially create a prompt. And you could even insert other things that you get from Power Apps. Like in this case, I did a Power Apps V2, right? Enter your input and then just stick them into where I want it to go. All right. I can create a prompt. As you see here, when you create a prompt, you essentially take something like this and you get to test it out. I want to show you a link over here. Check this out. There's a prompt library, Power Platform prompt library. Try to remember this one over here. pnp.github.io Power Platform-prompts. That's it. And if you want to get an example for different prompts, like say Power Automate, Copilot, here's an example for event registration. Here's an example for customer feedback, for reimbursement. You take these prompts, copy paste them, literally, into this area right over here, and then do test it out if you want to see what it looks like, and then insert whatever variables that you want to put in there. You can add stuff like a style of conversation, like maybe put a person's name in there, or however you want to do it. And all you're doing basically is just returning the piece of text, and you're done. And so here's what I did with this particular app, right? So let's take a look. And oh, so did you see that prompt that said make an introduction to the team? So I'm going to introduce Craig Jenke, because he's not here. All right, and I'm going to introduce him in the style of an English butler, and I'm going to say that he is a ditch digger. No, I don't want to. I'm not that mean. Let's make him an explorer. Okay, yes. Or no, let's make him an astronaut. All right. So go ahead and make the intro. It's going in there, so I can actually go in here right now, and I can go, and I actually can watch the flow and see it happen. Looks like it just happened 9 seconds ago. That means it was really fast. There we go. Your Majesty, may I present to you Craig Jenke, astronaut, man of great courage and ambition. trite, right? But take that once to another step over here. Let's go ahead and close this out and go back. Let's leave. There are actually no changes. And take a look at our apps over here. All right, so I believe these are all PVA stuff over here. I just wanted apps only, but it's actually showing everything that I'm doing. The free helper, the PVA all the way, the blog creator. Just going to run it as is so you can see what it does. You can see how it says apps in development. Oh, wait a minute, what happened? It failed. Let me go into edit mode and see what's going on. Maybe it's just taking too long to come up. Let's edit so I can hit play on it so I can see what's going on. Oh yeah, so sometimes these things take a while to load up and everything else. I tend to speed it up if I'm trying to test and trying to get things going and demo it like I'm trying to do by going right over here. So skip that. All right, so what's happening over here? So in this particular area, it's just going to make a blog. Let's go with what that is. It's just, again, it's calling a flow that's called make a blog. And basically just takes a piece of input that goes in. Let's go take a look and see what's behind the scenes for that. And the make a blog. Go into edit mode again. We're almost done here. All right, again, ChatGPT. There's a prompt. Check the prompt. The blog should energize and motivate the audience. The blog post should be less than a page. So I don't have to put any of those special features or anything. That's all I had to say. Basically, get a response back. And by the way, this example uses the old Power Apps tool. You'll see that there's no way of putting in the actual inputs that you're getting. So you end up doing this: create text with GPT prompt. This is actually a good tip to know. Use the newer one wherever possible, but if you have to use the old one, it's just going to give you a big blob of stuff, and you're going to have to initialize your variables from scratch. And where you see these responses coming in when you're creating stuff, a lot of this is very easy to do. You basically run your GPT, you get a response, you copy it, you go generate from stick that response that you got back in there, and it generates this for you. Boom, you have your output ready to go. You learn that one, by the way. Actually, you may not learn that one in the Learn Things, but you'll tend to learn how to make these kind of what you call that response body type things, right? They have nothing to do with the GPT or anything else. This is just a general how do you deal with variables where there's a schema where you have to generate from an example. You essentially make sure that you call up something HTTP or whatever that creates some sort of output that you can look at that's JSON-y, bring it in and deal with it. And that's how that is to use. So let's go ahead and run this one for a moment. Let's override. Let's go ahead and hit play. I think that's what was going on. So what is the topic? Let's say the topic is how to run a successful user group for Penguin Power Platform developers. I just made that up. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's make the blog. And it's not going to be very clean because I didn't go ahead and make all things to work for it, but we'll see that in a moment. There we go. Check it out. Successful user groups, mind commander, stay up to date. Here's some tips to get you started. All right, so it didn't really quite do the Penguin thing that's in there, but it basically gave me how to run a successful user group. So it didn't matter really. I guess the thing made its mind. I guess the AI made its mind. The Penguin and Power Platform Developer Group was not really important, except here it is. Penguin Power Platform. So it did put that in there. So yeah, I guess it covered it. All right. So all right, that's pretty neat. But here's the thing. One thing I would like to show you is the fact that when we looked at this, we're using ChatGPT. They might say, you're in Europe. You're saying, we're not allowed to do that because it talks to the internet. It goes to the outside. We're not connected to it. They won't let us use that. Or some companies might say, we have security. We have rules. You can't just be asking whatever you want. In fact, all of these apps, you'll see the flow check over here. I want to point this out to you. This is the biggest warning that you get. You get an action that says, create text does not have a content approval action. This is Microsoft's responsible AI saying, if you're going to be using me to do this stuff, I would like to see for myself that you have an approval step built into your process for this text. I mean, it's going to let you still do it, but this warning is going to stay there until then. Only the last couple of days did it actually create wait for approval text for GPT specifically for this answer. So it's easy for people to make, because you had to make an approval flow and go through all that rigmarole just to make that approval work. So people didn't bother with it, and now they made it easier. But still, this is one of the most important things to show. If they're saying, how do you know if it's good? How do you know if the data is over there? Well, here's your assurance, because we're putting it through this and it's being watched. And now here's how to actually get to these places without it. You can get there to PVA and all of the other places with, I'm going to put this over here. Another way to get at the AI is if somebody in your organization built their own big, large language model, maybe an open AI system in Azure. And here's the concept over here. Let's maybe not look at that one. Let's look at something over here on this side. That's not a good one to look at. Let's go here. Let me go to, oh, that's, I'm the wrong thing. Let's go to my flows. I'm going to look at my PVA all the way a piece over here. So in this particular area, this particular flow, somebody created, an Azure developer created an OpenAI piece, and they built all the bits into it. Whatever they did, prompt engineering and all whatever necessary pieces, they're all built into it. So for Power Virtual Agents, I go and I get a request. I handle the request, and see over here, unlike the other one where it like gave me just simply create a prompt and then I inserted whatever I wanted to the prompt. This is what OpenAI, the way OpenAI works, API says, I have these elements that I have to deal with: the message, the role of the item, the content. What is the content? The role that's going to be dealing with things. In this case, the user, the assistant. Then you actually bring in the content, and then you have these other measures, the so-called temperature, the top P, the frequency. I'm not going to go through those specific details now. We can go through it, except maybe max tokens. This is how many characters you're going to get back. All right, so how often something repeats. All right, and then you actually make an HTTP call to that thing. You provide an API key, and a note for Raquel. Maybe we're going to block this over here. We're going to make sure we kill that. And anyways, we're taking a look and we're making the call, and then we again initialize the variable. For the response, I determine that, hey, did we get a response? And here it is. We're going to deal with the body. Remember that generate from sample and all that piece? All that came into play for creating all of this. And there was only one formula. This is the high code stuff, where essentially I'm doing that parse JSON and grabbing the message and just simply returning it to Power Agents. Why am I doing that over here? So in Power Virtual Agents, I created a bot. I'm just going to call it the cat bot for now. I'm going to call it the cat bot, and what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say, show me a restaurant I can go to in Verona. I don't know if you've been looking at the text that was over there. It said do it in the form of Shakespeare, and let's go see what it does. Verily, there be many places to dine in Verona, and then let's see, it does it in the style of Shakespeare. Gives me some information over here, and I'll say I'm going to ask him, would you dine with me? Because there was a little note that said over there, what to deal with. Of course, if someone asks you to dinner, how about tomorrow? Oh, hold on a second. How about tonight? check it out. My apologies, I'm already done. That was built into the system over here. And other pieces in the system are like whether or not it's going to ask about something else. It's like which okay, which I'm going to see what I can do that it may not ask us. Like, can you rate the restaurants for me? Let's see if you can do it. Right. Let's see if it spells it. See if it does some ratings. Aha, look at this. So, and here's like what's built into the engine. We don't want it to rate. We don't want to do this stuff. And here's it's handling essentially the off case, right? That's put in there. That's built into the engine. That engine, by the way, is in a server. It's not connected to the internet. It's by itself. All right. The information that it has in it is part of the large language model that you would bring in. So it has some information that it's already been trained on. So it knows to find a restaurant Verona. It gets that information, but right, that information is essentially cached and saved. Where can I use that now? Well, now I can go in to one of these apps, like a chatbot right over here, and simply drop in the chatbot control and then ask it again. What is a good thing to eat in Chicago after watching Hamlet? All right, let's see what it says. After watching heart-wrenching as Hamlet, it actually was able to go into detail over here, because in the instructions it basically said that the assistant is Shakespearean, knows everything about Shakespeare, and here's how to talk, and here's how to answer stuff, and everything else. And check, it's giving me some food choices in Chicago. Bon appetit and ready to go. That was actually pretty cool. All right, so that's essentially where you can take it and how you can go much further beyond the stuff. Take the ChatGPT, play, try out the different combinations. If you have a chance to have someone give you an Azure piece to look at in those particular cases, or just do an HTTP output to something that's out there for free, that would be the way to go. And that is the main talk over here. Let's go see in slides. What else? What other topics we have over here? Stand by. That's not it. It's on top, Copilot to the next level. Let's go see. And where is my, and it's gone. My slides have appeared. Let me go close all these slides here. Here we go. Got it. All right, let's go see it. What other topics did I miss? All right, so we did a bit of use. We did some tips. We did the main issues. And now Ask Me Anything is on. If somebody wants to ask something, come off mute. This is the time to do it. And I actually can look up stuff. I can actually go check out the licensing on what's going on over here. If you're wondering about that $30 per month, when you see what the Copilot can do, you'll be like wondering why is it only $30 a month, frankly. And the AI modeler, yeah, the way the AI building goes in that, it's not the same. It's not. There's premium access for the connectors. That's one thing. But in addition to that, there's the amount of cycles that you use. So every time you do those chats or every time you do those calls, it uses up cycles. And you buy them in bulk, like in a bulk of like 1 million cycles at a time. It's what they call them, essentially. And that's where the billing comes in when you're actually paying for it. And of course, Microsoft does stuff where, like, if you use it in bulk at a certain level, they'll give you discounts as you move along the levels. They want you to use it. They want to make it as cheap as possible, pennies on pennies on pennies to use it, but it's still going to cost. So that is the answer on licensing. Let's see. Do I have my? Let's go find my M365 Chicago. Am I still in the meeting? I'm still in the meeting. Come on.
Yeah, Adam here. I just wanted
Oh,
to
go
say
ahead.
that I was following along on the lesson and the training, and a lot of the tips that you provided immediately helped out, and
Immediately hit
especially with
home.
yeah, especially with the sentiment analysis, where you were saying like, yeah, it says mixed, but the answer's neutral.
Right.
Immediate feedback on that. So,
Yes. So watch out. It's okay to fail that test. It's okay. You know the truth, as they say. The truth will carry you to your job. But as they say, if you want to get the right answer, you can go and fake the answer for that. Here's the thing. What I'm finding out with those tests is like even if you get most of them wrong, it lets you proceed, and it does not give you a badge just because you passed it all. So that's the good thing. Okay, why can't I seem to get an image anymore? My image is not working. Somebody take over the screen. I can't seem to give up my. Am I still sharing screen, or did it stop?
you are still.
Yeah, I can't unshare because for whatever reason I'm blank. You see my screen over here? This is where I should be seeing my window, but it's not. Well, look out! You might lose me. Look out! See what happens. Am I still here?
You're still here.
All right, so it's not happening. I'm refreshing and it's still not coming. Maybe I'll try to share your. I've made you presenter. Just do a quick share and stop sharing. Pretend to share and pretend to share.
You are broadcasting your screen.
All right, great. Then stop. Okay, now no one should be sharing their screen. It should be just us, right? And my video, maybe. My video's dead. Oh, so my video. Did my video die a while ago? Okay, so I should be off because of this refresh thing that I did. All right, just want to make sure. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today. Unless someone else has another question, I can answer it right now. Going once, going twice. We'll watch online for more answers and see what happens. All righty, but I hope this will be helpful for the folks that are watching the video on tips and tricks to look at. Next time we'll see if we can do more fabric, try to get another guest in here besides herself to talk through a lot of the stuff. And yes, get that badge. Badges, they're worth something. All right. Okey-doke. I know. Yeah, I know. So I got to go in and try to fix that some other way. We'll figure that out. Not to worry. Okay, hun? All right, we'll talk to you soon. We're signing out. I'm going to try to sign out. Well, call me if I don't sign out. I'm going to close my screen. Okay?
Thank you.
Guys, everybody say bye. We'll see ya.